Hello, friends. Hi, Liz. Welcome, welcome. Yeah, so I'm gonna be not able to stream this Sunday like I've been doing. So I'm streaming today, and then next week I'll try to like pre-schedule it again so that you'll know exactly when I'm streaming and you can kind of plan accordingly. But we'll see, because I am not great at remembering to do that. I set an alarm and that worked, but anyway, yeah, I didn't do as much reading as I had hoped to, but I did a little bit, so that was good. But I still have to figure out what I did read. I think there's a couple days that I didn't read. So you almost never have Fridays off. Well, I'm glad you do, and I hope you're having a relaxing Friday, if that is available to you. Okay, so I need to go back to the 13th. Sorry, I'm just trying to figure out what even the last thing. Oh no. That's why I don't read them. Yeah, so I think what I ended up reading this week was one. Let's move all of these out of the way again because still not getting to them. Move them on. It's okay. But this is what I'd planned to read this week. And instead, I didn't quite get there, so I didn't even finish Monster Friends. I had hoped to do that on Sunday, and instead I didn't, and I didn't read at all. I don't think I read at all on Monday, or possibly Tuesday. I think Wednesday I listened to the second hour of the 13th Child. Or maybe that was yesterday. Actually, it was this day I did that, and then I listened to the first hour of Nothing But Blackened Teeth, and then actually I listened to all of Nothing But Blackened Teeth yesterday. My screenshots are just confusing my poor little brain because it's saying today, but it was like at 12 a.m., so it was yesterday. And then I had also listened to, you know what, and I did start Nothing But Blackened Teeth, and I listened to the first hour on Wednesday, so I think we're just gonna do this, because who even knows, because I didn't take good screenshots. And Sorcerer of the Wild Deeps, I did listen to 1 hour of, and then today, thus far, I am 6 hours into the 13th Child. I listened to a lot of that today. AKA 4 hours. So, I kind of took a little bit of a dip again, but then I am sort of picking back up. So now that I've figured that out, I think I'm definitely going to take Monster Friends with me to read, and I might try to read Heartstopper as well. What book are you trying to read with no audiobook? What is a slog? Okay, so let's do a quick speed round wrap-up of what I read this week. And then I figured I would add some books to my TBR on Goodreads. But there's other stuff I could do too, if that doesn't sound interesting. I could also do like wrap-ups of other books that I read this year that I haven't talked about yet. And I can, what else was I thinking of? There were other options, but at least. Oh, hi! Welcome, thank you. Thank you for watching and for being here. I'm guessing it's because of the time change that you're able to do that? Yeah, it was just because I never even heard of that, the Ministry of Pain. Yeah, it's because I can't stream this weekend, but I didn't want to, like, miss a week. So, I finished 2 books this week and I DNF'd a book, which isn't a lot because it was, like, a novella and a children's book, so I know, like, it sounds like a lot, like, wow, 2 books, like, that's a lot, but it was only, like 250 pages of reading or something. It was not a lot. Oh, you've been in work and calls during the other times. On Sundays? Wow. Well, I'm sorry work has been a pain, but I'm glad you're here. I have been... Yeah, there's one book that I've been reading for a while, for like almost this whole week, but it isn't a slog. I just haven't felt like reading very much. But now I'm like really getting into it, and so I read a good chunk of it today. But yeah, not having an audiobook. It's just not very fun. Ugh. And I think I don't know. It depends. I might try to reread Heartstopper, but I'll see. Because I did watch the show. I watched season 2, and I ended up flipping through book 3 and parts of book 4, because just so many of the scenes from the TV show are just like direct like scenes from the books, and so I was just like, I just wanted to like see what they looked like in the graphic novel again. But then that just made me really want to reread the graphic novel, so we'll see if I end up doing that. I probably won't. I'll probably not get around to it. It would be easier if I had, because the thing is that I have the physical books, which are great. I love them, and I've read from the physical books a couple times, but I think I do prefer reading them digitally because Alice Oseman uploaded like other special things, like little like alternate universe one-shots and other special little comic things and guest comics and things that are not printed in the physical books, and so being able to read them digitally just means you get this like extra content. So I don't know if I would read it physically or digitally. Anyway, Nothing But Black and Teeth. I ended up finishing this on the 17th, so yesterday. And I really liked it. This has incredibly low ratings, a 2.69. And I do want to look at the reviews to see why people hate them. Because I don't know, I don't know why people hated it, because I liked it. But also I don't read horror, so I don't know why. The cast are an unlikable group of moronic upper-class twonks. Why they're friends at all in the first place is a mystery, as they all seem to loathe each other from the beginning. Yeah. They do, but it was like, I feel like that was on purpose. Yeah, I don't know. And I haven't read a lot of other horror to like compare it to, but I really ended up enjoying it. I didn't love it. Like I loved the other book that I read by Cassandra Khaw. The Salt Grows Heavy. I gave that one 5 stars earlier this year. I really, really loved this one. And this one I would probably give like 3.5 stars. Like I enjoyed it, but there's nothing I loved about it, nor nothing that like I hated about it. I just liked it and enjoyed it. I don't know. There was nothing pulling me really hard either direction, so I think like 3.5 stars makes sense for me. But anyway, I really loved the other book by her, or by them, sorry. They're doing some system testing and some medical stuff. Audiobooks are the best. I love that. That's also something that, I mean, I don't read physically very much at all anymore, but that was something that I had absolutely horrendous allergies earlier this year. Like, I pretty much have never had seasonal allergies my whole life, and my eyes were so incredibly itchy, and I just could not stop sneezing and coughing, and I was just so incredibly miserable for like weeks. I finally got on good medication that helped me, but yeah, audiobooks definitely helped me through that, because otherwise, and like YouTube and stuff that I could just like listen to, because it was like painful to have my eyes open and they were just so itchy. So I 100% feel you on that. Oh, I didn't even realize that it was you. Hi. I don't know. This is a different username. Hi, Judith. Sorry. I didn't know this was Judith. Okay. The one that you recommended did not help at all, but my doctor recommended a different one and then gave me a different Al-B, whatever the frick that is. And then she ended up giving me like a different medication too to kind of help with like the coughing that I was having. And then she also gave me an inhaler because we think some of the stuff that was also triggering it was the like amount of smoke that was in the air because the air quality was so bad. Yeah, I didn't know it was you until you said that you recommended me one. And it didn't help. Oh, okay. Alejandra. Okay, perfect. But yeah, with all those combined, I made through it. But yeah, I had no idea it was you until you said that. Anyway. I sent Judith just like the most like miserable picture of me just like with my eyes just so uncomfortable. I think I might have even had like just tissues stuffed up my nose because if I wasn't clogging it, it was just like pouring down my face. Sorry, this is like TMI. And I was just like, I'm so uncomfortable right now because I know that she deals with really bad allergies too, so she got my pain. You got locked out of your other one. Oh, that sucks. Yeah, horror. So that makes sense. And since I'm not really familiar, like I've only started reading horror less than a year ago, and I kind of just like glossed horror books and horror takes and horror opinions just out of my brain as I've consumed all this book information over the last 30 years of my life. Anytime like horror stuff has been recommended, I've just like snapped it out of my brain because it doesn't apply to me because I don't enjoy horror. And so like I really don't know what people are looking for and stuff. So that is very interesting. But yeah, I don't know. I like this one. Yeah, the characters are completely unlikable, and it was just like weird and gross and gruesome, and it was very short, and they were just spending time in a haunted house, haunted mansion in Japan that this bride, her like groom never came, and so she like asked to be like buried alive, and then every year after they buried a different girl alive in the walls. So there's like over 200 girls that were buried alive in this house. And modern day, the reason that they're there is because one of the characters wants to get married in a haunted house. Anyway, it was weird and gross and strange. But yeah, I don't know. I did really like it, but I definitely really loved her other book. Cassandra Claw's other book that came out earlier this year. their book, The Salt Grows Heavy, which just, one, has the most gorgeous cover. I love this cover. It's so great. But then, I just really enjoyed it. It's like, it was just, I don't know. I don't know what to talk about it right now, because I feel like my brain's not 100% here. And I wasn't thinking about how I'd talk about this book today, but basically it's like The Little Mermaid, except for instead of like wanting to go with the prince, he like kidnaps her and like assaults her, and he ends up like cutting out her tongue because mermaids have like really powerful voices. He ends up cutting out her tongue and like forcing her to eat it. And basically, since he like raped her, now she's having these babies, and they're these like little like mer creatures, and they are just so hungry, and they end up like devouring the entire kingdom, everything. So it's like the prince's greed causes the downfall, and so then the Little Mermaid is now it's afterwards, and she's just like looking at her ruined city that she never loved or cared about anyway, and she ends up deciding to journey with this doctor who always wears a plague mask, and travel with them. Sorry, somebody just texted me, but I can text them after. And I also got, work stuff is going on. Anyway, I really loved it a lot, and it was very gruesome and gross and gory and disgusting, so just know that going in. The Thing Between Us. By who? Gus. Things? This Thing. Sorry, not The Thing. This Thing. There we go. Ooh, what a weird cover. I've seen this cover before, but again, anything before this last year I've just blocked out because I'm like, this is not pertinent information to me. I'm just gonna forget about it. I'll add it to the list. I know it wasn't a recommendation for me, but I'm taking it anyway. It's mine now. Yeah, I would say I've read a good amount of horror books now. Like, probably 10, at least. Which I feel like is a lot, considering that a year ago I hadn't read like any, or I had read a couple over the years, but I hadn't really enjoyed them, or they weren't like what I would consider like my reading. So anyway, I'm gonna give this, I don't know if I'm gonna round up or down. I think I'm gonna round up. I don't know if rounding up is like the correct thing to do. I mean, it's my reading, I can do whatever I want, but I just want to round up for the sake of like, this has such low ratings, and I feel really sad about that, because I don't feel like, I just don't understand why people hate it so much. very confused. Anyway. Oh, I didn't finish that on the 16th, though. I finished that on the 17th. What a goof. Anyway. But see, it was like 4 days in between when I read again. Or finished anything, because I was just like slowly chipping away. And the 17th. Okay, and then I read another book, which I loved it so much. So it's called The Skull, and it's by John Klassen. Oh, I messed up. And I read this one yesterday too. I'm giving it 5 stars. I loved it. I'm so glad I read it. I really loved the art. So I was excited to read it, but I was also dreading reading it because John Klassen and I do not have a good track record. 2 stars to I Want My Hat Back. 2 stars to This Is Not My Hat. 2 stars to We Found a Hat. And then I was like, I just need to not, I mean, that's basically everything John Klassen has written besides the Rock from the Sky. I was like, I just need to stop reading John Klassen books because obviously John Klassen is not for me. And those are all picture books. So I was like, okay, I need to just not read John Klassen's picture books anymore because they are not for me. And so this book came out in July, The Skull. And I saw the cover and I was like, it was so great. And then I was like, oh no, it's John Klassen. Should I even read it? But I was like, of course I need to read it. And it's not a picture book. It's like it's not a chapter book, but it would be like shelved with chapter books. Well, it is a chapter book. There are chapters in it. Never mind, ignore me. It's a chapter book. So I was like, okay, well, I can read the chapter book. I wear witch hats all the time. Anyway, so it's about this girl named Otilla? I don't know how to say that. Otilla. Otilla? I don't know how to say names. Otilla. And she runs away and she finds this spooky house and there's just like this skull hanging out and they become friends. And that's the book. I loved it so much. So I just need to read. I loved the writing, loved the illustrations. It was very easy to read, obviously, because like the words are huge and there's very few per page. It took me like 10 minutes to read, and I just basked in every moment. She looked up in the window above the door. She saw a skull looking at her, and it's just like about their little friendship. And this is part 2, or chapter 2, whatever. Part 2: the skull, the rooms, the dance. And there she's like looking up at the skull, and he's like, "I'll let you in, but only if you carry me around." And so then she just like spends the rest of the book. Here he's like letting her in. And then she spends the rest of the book just carrying around the skull. And now they're just friends walking around together. It's so good. Oh, I loved it so much. It just like fed my soul. And I also really love the author's note at the end. This was exactly what I needed to read, and it made me very, very happy. So I recommend. 5 stars. Loved it. Loved every second. Loved the illustration. Loved the writing. Adored it. John Klassen, I'm sorry. I've hated all your books in the past. I did read Into the Drowning Deep, and I gave it 5 stars. Thank you for the recommendation. I love you. Yeah, it was great. I bought myself a copy. It's right there. I'm looking at it. And then I read the prequel novella as well, which I do recommend reading after you read Into the Drowning Deep. Anyway, it was so good, The Skull. I loved it. So it was a great read, but also I was going in with medium expectations because I had disliked his books in the past, but also it's like a different age group and it's longer, and it didn't seem like his other books seemed to be really like goofy. And this one was like not goofy, so that made me, I mean, I didn't know that it wasn't going to be goofy though when no, stop it. I didn't know it wouldn't be goofy, but I prefer when his books aren't goofy because like the writing is, I mean the illustrations I think are just very, they're like spooky cozy. And I think it's not the same as that's a different thought. Hold that thought for a second. I really love the relationship between them, and when they first meet, so she is running away. So I can just read you the beginning of it. Attila ran and ran. She ran through the trees and up hills. She ran for a long time, all through the night. Attila had grown up in the forest, but after a while the trees began to look different. They were getting closer together. Attila kept running. As she ran, Attila began to hear her name being called. She couldn't tell if it was someone's voice or the wind in her ears. Attila, 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 and then she falls. She lays there and cries for a while. She finally gets up. That's when she finds the skeleton, or sorry, the skull and the house. And she says, "My name is Attila, and I ran away, and I need a place to hide and rest." And so then when they become friends, he just like doesn't push her about things as well. Anyway, I just really love their relationship. I'll leave the rest for you to discover if you want to get it, but it was very good. Okay, what I was going to say before is I think that if you enjoy, oh god damn it, what is it called? Over the Garden Wall, I think that you would enjoy this. If you want to read something, it's not the same as Over the Garden Wall whatsoever, but I just think the same kind of person would enjoy both of them. And I recommend. And it would only take you 10 minutes to read, and it was just a delight. Anyway, so I read that. What day did this come out? Because this is just saying 2023, but it was like July 1st, published January. That's not when that came out. July 11th, 2023. Beautiful. I'm so glad I got to read it. It was so good. Okay, and then the final book that I was reading this week, but ended up DNFing, is Sorcerer of the Wild Deeps, and that is a book that, yeah, so I DNF'd it. It's a novella, so I didn't read a lot of it, but I did read a lot of it, if that makes sense. I got 26% in, but I only read it for an hour and a half. And I don't know, it wasn't I was really excited about this book. I just think the cover is incredible. And I definitely want to diversify my reading. Oh, I just said it that I reviewed it, that I read it that day. I didn't. Why did I do that? Oh my gosh, what am I doing? It was just very, it does not have high ratings. But one, look at this cover. Look how stunning that is. Gorgeous. And it's a novella, and and it's queer, and it's fantasy. I didn't realize how old it was. I thought it was newer, but because I feel like my library just obtained a copy. But I just wasn't enjoying the writing. It was just very... And it was purposeful. It was not... I don't think the writing was bad. I just personally wasn't enjoying reading the writing, if that was making sense. It was just a lot of... it was just a lot of language, and obviously I'm okay with swearing, but it was just very, very, very heavy-handed and very aggressive, and it was just literally it would just be a whole paragraph of just cussing and cussing and cussing and cussing and calling people the most horrible, nasty things. And there was just, it's a Black author, so obviously this was okay, but the N-word was in there a ton of times as well and stuff. And I think both from characters of color and not. So obviously it was in there as very intentionally, but it was just not pleasant. But I was just that's okay, I'm just gonna keep going. But then it was also just very gruesome, and there were other things I wasn't enjoying about the writing as well. And it just ended up being just it was just very sad and very and it got to a point where our main character is holding someone. So they're in a battle, and somebody ends up falling into his arms from the enemy side, and he's that's it, I'm not gonna kill anymore. And while he's holding this person, somebody else chops their heads off, and so it's just this very long description of the head rolling away and the blood going everywhere and the body crumpling in his arms and all this stuff. And it was just very traumatic, and I was just okay, reading this right now is not making me feel happy. So I'm just gonna not. Yeah. And I guess a lot of other people agreed with that, but oh, I didn't mean to click on that. And it was also taking a lot of like brain power and concentration to read as well, I think was another thing, which isn't a bad thing. But I think also when my reading has been very much like this the last week and I've barely been able to read at all, I was able to just finish a couple short books, and then I was reading this, and it was just like making me feel very glum, and making me not excited about reading. Anyway, so that's what it was. Yeah. Very sad though, because the cover is gorgeous, and I do want to read more books, especially by about like Black queer authors, characters, stuff like that. I mean, obviously we never, I mean, unless the author is like explicitly saying like their like gender and sexuality identity, we won't know that. But like, I want to read books by Black authors about Black and queer characters, if that makes sense. Because even if the author's not explicitly saying that they're queer, if they're writing about queer characters in a thoughtful manner, that's good enough for me. That's what I'm trying to say. And that would go for like any author of any color. It's like you don't have to be out as anything. If you're writing about it in a thoughtful way, then that's good enough that you don't have to out yourself to be writing about it, is my opinion. Anyway, but okay. So, but the book I'm currently reading, and I guess I'm not going to talk about too much, but I am going to say that I'm very glad that I'm finally reading. I think it was a good call to DNF it as well. But I am going to be reading, or I am currently reading a book by Patricia C. Reedy that has been on my TBR for a long time. And if you don't know, Patricia C. Reedy wrote my favorite series of all time. And I just never read this book, other books by her, because I was always like, I guess, worried to. Well, at first when I was a kid, I wouldn't have mattered. I would have read anything. But I didn't have access to them as a kid. Like my library didn't have them on audio, or possibly not at all. But I think mostly it was just them not being on audio was the prohibiting factor. That was the same for like a lot of different series by authors that I was interested in. And so when I finally did, I ended up buying this book then as an adult on audio, and I've had it on my Goodreads TBR since 2011, so I was not an adult at that point. But I have been meaning to read this book for a long time, and I'm finally reading it, and I'm about 50% through, and I'm over 50% through at this point, and I'm really enjoying it, so I'm very excited. It's very strange. I would definitely love to see some Black reviews on this book, specifically because one of the That's a very good point. That Kara says here is that they've erased indigenous North Americans from the world. Totally not mentioned. In this alternate history U.S., there were no native peoples already living here before the settlers show up. But there was still a Revolutionary War, still a Civil War, which is still fought over slavery. Anyway, so it's like, are a lot of connections, although a lot of things are named differently, but it's like, yeah, they're living on the border of this like wild country and people are trying to settle out there. Yeah, there's been no Native Americans, but also there's like a very important character who is black, and some other really important black characters, and Afrikaans magic that the main character is studying and learning and being taught by a black person, which, I mean, would be preferred. Yes, I'm glad that is happening, but I would love to see black reviewers' thoughts on that. But I am really enjoying just like the main characters' like reactions to things. Is very fun. But this book came out July 17th, 1995. So it's been out for a long time. And I'm really, I'm just enjoying it, and I'm finally glad I'm reading it. And it's really making me want to reread Natural History of Dragons. Is that what it's called? Yeah, by Marie Brennan, which I read a long time ago. When did I read it? Oh, this is saying no. When did I read this? I read this in May 2017. So I read it a long time ago, and I would love to reread this. I'm gonna add it to my 2023 TBR. Because I'm just enjoying, so basically a lot of this book that I'm currently reading, The 13th Child, is just like magic learning, but there's a lot that is just starting to be spent where I'm getting to now on like magical creatures and stuff, and it's making me want to go and read A Natural History of Dragons again and continue with that series. Anyway, and that's what I've read this week, / what I'm currently reading. I'm also still currently reading the Monster Friends, which I'm hoping to finish up this weekend. And yeah, I still have 3.5 hours left of The 13th Child, which I'll get more into the actual like summary of what the book's about. You should definitely read the second book to Dealing with Dragons. I had a friend, because I had been collecting all those different like copies to give to all these different people, and then I ran out of people to give the copies to of the Enchanted Forest Chronicles, and so I didn't have any copies left. Or I still had some copies left over, but nobody to give them to, and so I still had some copies, and I had a friend, and he had never read them. This was just a few weeks ago. I had a friend, and he had never read them, and I think he would really like them, and so I ended up giving him, I just had the first 3 books, and I gave them to him at work. He's a friend from work, and he's been walking around the last few days at work with the first book, just like reading a chapter here and there, like when he's like posted at the doors, like greeting customers and or like patrons and stuff, and it's making me so happy. And he says he's loving it, so he's reading Dealer Dragons. I got another one, so I'm very thrilled about that. Okay, enough talking about that. Okay, so I was thinking, well, let me go to the restroom first, and then I will try to figure out what I'm gonna do. I'll probably just stream for like another like half hour or so, and then wrap it up. But I will be back in a minute. Sorry about any banging you might have heard. Alright, so. I haven't been reading a ton lately. Currently reading some cozy mysteries and your alien monster romances, your comfort reads. I get it. That's definitely one I wanted to add to my TBR. Is that I saw this. Okay. I saw this on Instagram, I think. It's called Cookbooks and Demons. That's not how you spell demons. Demons. Oh no, why is it not coming up? Why is it not coming up? Okay, the author's name is Megan Mackey. Well, there's the author. Well, I don't know why it's not on the Goodreads, but I guess I can add. I could add something else just to keep my eyes on this author. I don't know if this is the one I would want to add though. Help a cybernetic spy find a missing criminal. Because this is the book. Here, this is the book that I saw on Instagram. Doesn't that look fun? Cookbooks and Demons? Maybe you can only read it on Yonder? But why isn't it on Goodreads? It's not like you read on Goodreads, you just mark it. I don't know. And then another book that I saw this week that I wanted to definitely add to my TBR, although it doesn't come out until March, so I'm sorry. Dark and Drowning Tide. Oh, there it is. By Allison Saft. Ooh. A sharp-tongued folklorist must pair up with her academic rival to solve their mentor's murders in this lush and enthralling sapphic fantasy romance. Yeah, it's fantasy, lesbian, and it's, I think it's also like, I don't think it's like Jewish because like, I don't know if it's set in our real world, but it's like very like Jewish coded. Anyway, sounds incredible. Oh, I can't add it to my want to read though. It has to go on to not released, because it doesn't come out until March. Plus that cover is just stunning. Okay, and then this is Why They Hate Us by Aaron H. Oh, sorry. How would you say that? Aceves? I hope I'm not butchering that. Anyway. Would you say that Queequeg? Enrique? Or that would be Queek? Queek? I don't know how you say that. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Let me go back. Here's this one. Sorry. This is the sapphic lesbian Jewish one with the academic rivals, which also has a gorgeous cover. The Dark and Drowning Tide by Allison Saft. And then this one is like a young adult bisexual, I think he's Mexican. He has one goal this summer to get over his crush. I don't know how to say that though. Queek? Because it would be, or Queequeg? I don't want to be saying that wrong. Queequeg has one goal this summer. And would that be Salim? I just am so bad at names. Anyway, I was watching a TikTok by this author, and he was like talking about why the book is titled Kike. Sorry, Kike. Is that right? Kike. Am I saying it right? Just put a little fist if you want to punch me in the face. I'm sorry. Kike. This cover is very pretty too, though. I like the colors. But I was watching a TikTok with this author talking about why he titled it This Is Why They Hate Us, and why he really, really fought for that. Because the publisher really wanted to change the title. Because they didn't feel like it fit the tone of the book and stuff. But it's just because when he was sitting there writing it, Kike. Okay, perfect. I get that it's a nickname, but I just can't pronounce. So I'm sorry. I could tell it was a nickname based off of how it was done, but I also just, and I think Salim is right. Although at first my first instinct was Salem, but I was like, no, I think it's Salim. Yeah, I've just always been so rubbish at pronouncing names. And when I was a kid, whenever we'd be reading out of the Bible, or I grew up Mormon, or out of the Book of Mormon, we would do this every single day. And whenever I was reading out of the Book of Mormon and I just didn't know the name, because I hadn't heard other people say it or whatever, I would just see the first letter and I would just make up the rest. And my family, and it would be, we were reading out loud to each other, and my mom would always be like, no, that's not how you say it, you can't just do that. And I was like, ah. And I still do that in my brain if I'm reading. If I don't have to say it out loud, I'm just I see the first letter and I'm like, This is what I'm going to call you because I can't figure out how to say that. It's really bad. I need to not do that. Your mom just got here. You're going to the bookstore and quilt shop? That sounds delightful. Quiche. Quiche. Kike. Okay. Have a wonderful and fantastic time. Thanks for hanging out today. I really appreciate it. I hope you have a fabulous time. I hope you get some excellent books. Yeah, so the author, Aaron, was talking about how he was like writing it and it was just like just this kid like just trying to being bi and just trying to be happy, and this kid being bi and Mexican, and he's like, this is why they hate us. Like, people genuinely just hate us because we're Mexican and queer, and that just being just so just like mind-boggling. And it's like, this is why they hate us, just like based off of like these two things, like this is why they hate us or whatever. And he was talking about that anyway, and I was like, yep. Anyway, I want to try it, although if I do try it, I'm gonna go in with a very gentle expectation, since I don't read a lot of contemporary teen books, especially, is not usually my vibe. But I'm willing to try it, especially since I really liked how the author like talked, and I was enjoying watching his TikToks. And it sounds like it could be very cute. Look how cute this author is. Isn't he sweet? Anyway. And it's his debut, and I think that would be awesome to support him. So, anyway, that was a book that I saw this week that I definitely wanted to add to my radar. Okay. Ooh, what about this one? I don't even know where I saw this from. Somewhere on Instagram, but I don't know when. I mean, it was from like almost a month ago. The Stars Light. But this cover's stunning. Look how pretty that is. She's wearing mist. There's unicorns. Okay. The Essence of the Equinox. Ugh, it's really long though. And it's not gay. Why is it not gay? A maiden of the stars, a monster from the shadows, a collision that rewrites their worlds. Princess Layla Rose is a fallen star in human form, a beloved guardian to humanity. Oh, by the way, Judith, that makes sense. Sorry, let me finish my first thought. By the way, Judith, thank you for walking me through how to pronounce that character's name. I really appreciate you. And appreciate you putting up with my inability. Thank you. And your patience and your willingness to educate me. Thank you very much. something taboo in most Latin communities. You have very few friends who are Latin who have come out as queer, even if they are. And I think he was saying it and like meaning like outside communities, like looking in, and it's like people, the same people who hate Mexican people tend to be the same people who hate queer people. Not always. There will be people who hate both individually but not the other, but I don't know if he deals with like the internalized issue within the community as well. In the specific video that I was watching about that, and I did watch some other videos of his where he wasn't talking about that in general. He was just talking about the book in general, but not about the specific title and the reason for the title. But when talking about that, it was more like the vibe of like that it tends to be like the people who are like really angry and hate, that's like the same people a lot of the time. But obviously, yeah, a lot of, I don't know if that's a different topic within the book. But if I read it, I'll let you know. Is a fallen star in human form. Okay, so it's Stardust, a beloved guardian to humanity, yet in spite of these fantastical origins, she has never much believed in prophecies. That's why when a demon of apocalyptic legend is presented to her in a block of ice, she feels fascination rather than fright. Oh, it's a romance. So curiosity kindles into mutual desire once he breaks free of his captivity. Far from the rampaging beast of mass destruction everyone expects, he is monstrously handsome. I can't say that word right now. I don't know. My brain isn't working. Devously? I don't even know if I know that word. Devoutly articulate and alluringly mysterious. A prince among his kind. Eager to discover his origins, Layla travels from her idyllic seaside realm in a land of into a land of unspeakable horrors, relying upon her wit to survive her journey. Anyway. Hell yeah! That's fucking sick. Okay. Yeah, there's definitely more, like so many more on my list that I need to add to my Goodreads, but I don't know. I think I might be done for today. I Devious. Thank you. I was like, what is the origin word of it? Deviously. Thank you. I don't know. This is why I need to go. My brain is not working. Do I even know the word devious? Yes, I do know that word. So glad so glad I have you here, helping my wee little brain, struggling so much. I don't know. Okay, so Bad Cree is off the TBR, and I need to find something else that fits that. I did read The Skull, so that's another one that I finished. Like I said, I'm extending my reading to the end of next month, so I don't have to get all of these done. I'm gonna take the Art Thief off of my TBR. There's a lot of these that like I need to fit new prompts in. Nothing But Black and Teeth I did end up reading, and Venomous I had read. But even though I haven't been reading as much, I still have a good amount of these prompts done, so that even if I don't finish as much as I would have liked to, hopefully in September I have like, I don't know, maybe like 25 prompts left or less, and then something reasonable that I'd be able to get through. So I'm just gonna chip away and not really like overthink too much. And I DNF'd this one, so this one's out. Oh, I did read Briar Rose. So but this is something I need to do probably next week, is like go through and see which ones, because of Black Death, I ended up reading that and I don't even know like which prompt it's gonna fit into. I guess it could be listened to an audiobook, but if there's another one that I can swap it into, that would be good. Anyway, so that's something else I need to do, but I just haven't even had the brain power to like figure out what I'm even planning on reading at this point, because I've DNF'd a lot of the books that were on my TBR. I don't know. What was Nothing But Black and Teeth? Was that for a horror? Oh no, that was a random color. Because I read that in 2 days. Because I feel like that one is like a tough one, because I'm like, I never know which book is going to take me 2 days exactly. But slowly but surely, I'll get through all these prompts. Anyway, thanks for hanging out today. I appreciate you doing so. This is why I need to go. And yeah, next week, either on Saturday or Sunday, hopefully, I will do another stream and hopefully have read more books, although we'll see. And hopefully at least one buddy read with Chris, because we're gonna have a little bit of a car ride together, so we'll see. Anyway, I will see you in my next stream. Thanks for bearing with me today.